Today we are going to discuss first midterm, first lesson, introducing literary techniques. Learning objectives of the presentation. Students will be able to define and describe different literary techniques, explain why and how literary devices are used in poems, identify literary techniques with relevant examples. Now, let's see what is a literary technique. Literary techniques presents ordinary things in fresh ways, communicating ideas that go beyond words' ordinary meanings. Now, if we talk about this definition, literary techniques, it means now literary techniques it presents uh, mostly in fresh ways, not in ordinary ways. Now for an example, if we are telling that you are very beautiful, we can say in a very fresh way by using some literary techniques. So we'll see what are the literary techniques, so and examples. Before we move on to literary techniques, I would like to draw your attention about where we normally where we can find these literary techniques. So mostly in poems, we can find different types of literary techniques. Now in poetry, the sound and meaning of words are combined to express feelings, thoughts, and ideas. Okay. Now, mostly now. How we are how the poet how the poet is expressing his or her feelings, thoughts, and ideas by using literary techniques, different types of literary techniques. So it helps us to understand the poet's feelings, thoughts, ideas. If we know the literary techniques well, if we identify the literary techniques in an accurate way, if we have a clear idea about each literary technique, it helps us to understand what the poet is expressing to us. He saw her feelings, thoughts, and ideas. So now you can see a picture of a boy who is wearing a thinking cap. Why I use this picture to show you. Now for an example, as a child, now as I told you, if you are aware about literary techniques, you when you are reading a poem, any poem, you will get to know, this is the idea that the poet wants to tell us. This is how he conveyed his message by using different types of literary techniques. So you will have an alarm in your uh, uh, alarm within you. So you will try to now you yourself try to think what is the meaning of this poem and how the poet expresses his or her feelings, thoughts, and ideas. So here the thinking cap uh, helps you. Now this thinking cap um, contains all the literary techniques which you uh, have to learn. So uh, as I told you, literary techniques help you to understand uh, the meaning of the poem in a very uh, relevant and accurate way. Okay, now we can see what are the literary techniques are. We are going to talk about similes, repetitions, and rhyming words. Now, children, you have to keep it in your mind. Now, these three are only few literary techniques that we are going to discuss today, but there are many literary techniques which we can find in many poems. If we talk about similes, similes is similes are a comparison of two things by using the words like or as. Okay, so similes are comparison between maybe two people, things, places, and concepts. So, as I told you, uh, uh, it is similes are comparisons uh, between two people, two things, places, and concepts. But when we are comparing these two things, what is the technique that we are using? Like or as. What's the how we are going to identify that this is a simile? By uh, uh, from the word like or as. Okay, so now, as I told you, similes compare two different things, and by comparing these two different things at the same time, it show a common quality between these two things or places or people or concepts. Okay, now for an example, children, if we talk about this picture, now you can see a picture of a giraffe, right? So here is the example of simile. As tall as a giraffe. Now normally uh, we can say uh, now if a child is really tall than her age or his age, we can tell that, oh, this child is uh, very taller, uh, she's as taller as a giraffe, she's as taller as a giraffe. So here we can see the tall is the common quality between giraffe and the human being. Tall is the common quality. And also similes are an important technique that make poets language more creative, and also very descriptive and entertaining. So if the poet wanted to be very creative, she or he can use similes, and if he or she is willing to give you more description about what she or he is talking about, uh, the poets are normally using similes, and also to entertain us they are using similes. Okay, now we'll see another example of a simile. My dog is as smelly as dirty socks. So here, what is the common quality between these two, dog and socks? Smelly. This dog also, it also is smelly as dirty socks. Now we are going to talk about the literary technique repetition. Repetition is a literary device or a technique that repeats the same words or phrases a few times to make an idea clearer and more memorable. So, what's the meaning of repetition? It means repeating same words or phrases a few times to give you a clear idea, and also to give you some memory of the idea which uh, the poet wanted to convey you. Now we'll see some examples of repetition. To the swinging and the ringing of the bells, bells, bells. Now, to give you a clear idea, Here the poet uses the technique repetition. So here how he uses the repetition by using the word bells, bells, bells 3 times. The best kinds of people are warm and kind. They are always there and they are never mind. The best kinds of people smile and embrace. Now here I have highlighted the repetition phrase. What's the phrase? The best kinds of people. This is to emphasize who have warm and kind. They are the best kinds of people. So this is how mostly the poets are giving messages to the reader, and to give you actually to memorize the message. He or she is using the literary technique repetition. The last literary technique that we are going to discuss today is rhyming words. So we'll see what you mean by rhyming words. Rhymes are words that end with the same sound. For an example, hat, cat, and bat. It rhymes. Okay, hat, cat, bat. It rhymes. Okay, so it plays at the end of the lines in the poetry. Okay, so normally in how we can identify rhyming words, it plays at the end of the lines in the poetry. So rhyming words bring rhythm in poems. Rhyming sounds don't have to be spelled the same way. So uh, when we talk about the rhyming sounds, it don't normally it does not have the same spellings. Cloud, allowed. Cloud, allowed. Sound is same, but the spellings are different. Rhyme is the most common sound device in poetry. So normally it's a most common sound. Okay, rhyme, time, rhyme, time. Now we'll see another example for rhyming words. First, no is a one poem. So we'll see how we can find rhyming words in this poem. Snow makes whiteness where it falls. The bushes look like popcorn balls. And places where I always play look like somewhere else today. So, what are the rhyming words? Now, as I told you, it plays. Now, you can see it in this stanza. You can see the rhyming words plays at the end of the lines in this stanza. So what are the rhyming words that we can find here? Falls, balls, play today. Falls, balls, play today. Let us discuss another example for rhyming words. Here I have taken one stanza from Bliss. Let me fetch sticks, let me fetch stones. Throw me your bonds, teach me your tricks. So here, what are the rhyming words we can say? We can see sticks, tricks, stones, bonds. Sticks, tricks, repeating together, though the spellings are different. The sound is the same. Stones, bonds. There is another one example to identify rhyming words. The poem Oodles of Noodles. Okay. Now here you can see a picture of a child who is eating greedily noodles. I love noodles. Give me oodles. Make a mound up to the sun. Noodles are my favorite foodles. I eat noodles by the ton. Now, what are the rhyming words? Oodles, poodles, sun, ton. Oodles, poodles, sun, ton. Children, I prepared you some questions uh, from what we have learned today. So if you can answer to all these questions, it will help you to give a very good understanding of each literary technique, and it will help you to memorize what we learned today. So if we summarize what we learned today, we talk about three literary techniques, and I had given you an introduction about what do you mean by a literary technique and what are the three literary techniques that we are going to discuss today. So what are they? We discuss simile, repetition and rhyming words. So under that we discuss what do you mean by a simile, what do you mean by a repetition, and what do you mean by rhyming words. And then we discuss about what are the examples of simile, repetition and rhyming words. So children, I hope you got a very good understanding and clear idea about when and where to use these three literary techniques. Thank you very much, children, for listening to this presentation. I hope you already got a very good understanding about what do you mean by a literary technique, and uh, what do you mean by uh, simile, repetition and rhyming words, and what are the examples that we can use for each literary technique, and how you have to identify when you are reading a poem, how you have to identify three of these literary technique.